Hello, I'm H.R. Funk. Like all Americans, I was saddened and sickened by the events that took place this past Tuesday in Uvalde, Texas. And while I know no words of mine can assuage the grief being felt by the families of the victims of that tragedy, I still would like to express my extreme sympathy for your loss. Also, I would like to express my extreme thanks to the law enforcement officers who had to respond to and manage that incident. And while I know you performed your duties as the trained professionals that you are, I also know that handling such an incident exacts a personal toll. Some of you are familiar with my YouTube channel and my history. I'm a former United States Marine, a career law enforcement officer, and currently I'm employed by a private security firm. In my current capacity, I work with other former law enforcement officers who are highly trained and extremely capable, and we are employed to prevent exactly this type of an incident. And I hope you all will indulge me if I make a couple of comments because this has been weighing heavily on my mind as I've been watching the coverage of the events in Uvalde. The first thing I would like to say is that the only thing in all of my research that significantly impacts the number of victims that occur in an incident such as this is an armed professional who is on scene at the time the incident begins. In all of the research that I've done, and for many years I trained law enforcement officers in active threat response and studied incidents just like this, the presence of an armed professional was the one thing that made the biggest difference in significantly reducing the number of casualties. If you are a school administrator, a superintendent, if you're on a school board, or if you are a parent who has a child attending schools, I encourage you to work with your school officials and try to make sure there are armed professionals in place with the training and equipment needed to effectively respond to an incident such as this. Again, that's the only thing that I've seen that really significantly reduces the number of victims that occur in this type of an incident. Also, to any Ohio legislator who might hear these words, there is something I think that could be done very quickly that would not cost the state anything in terms of money, but could impact the future of incidents like this as they occur in Ohio. Currently in Ohio, with only very few exceptions, the only persons who can have firearms in a school safety zone are current commissioned police officers. I would encourage any legislator to immediately introduce legislation that would allow retired peace officers to also be able to carry firearms in a school safety zone. As I said, this would cost absolutely nothing, and it would potentially increase the number of armed, trained individuals who would be present during a school function to be able to take immediate action should such an event like this commence. Again, this is something that can be done very quickly, and it would be something that, while there would be no requirement for former or retired police officers to carry firearms with them to try to prevent this type of a tragedy, any of us who would be willing to do so would once again be able to carry firearms in a school safety zone. Once we retire, even though we have a great deal of training and experience, we are legislatively prohibited from being able to continue to carry firearms in a school safety zone. Both of these suggestions are expedient, but neither one is an ultimate cure to this issue. Ultimately, this is a societal problem that will have to be dealt with by people with psychological and medical training. But it is something we can do. It's a first step to get individuals into the areas where we're needed, and also to allow those of us who have the training and experience to be able to deal with this type of a situation to avail ourselves of that training and have the tools we need in order to be able to act if we find ourselves in a place where something like this happens. Thank you very much, and again, my extreme sympathy to the families of the victims in Uvalde, Texas.